My name is Monique De La Garza, and I'm the city clerk for the city of Long Beach. We're here today to answer some commonly asked questions about the upcoming November election here in LA County. I'm here today with my friend Phil Rivera from the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder's Office. And with the election right around the corner, I know everybody's got some concerns about how am I going to vote? What is it going to look like? Is it going to be safe? And I think that between Phil and I, we can answer all these questions and hopefully put some of people at ease about the November 3rd election. So like I said before, we're going to do a little bit of Q&A, Phil and I want everybody out there who's watching to feel free to send us your questions as we're going through. If you have any questions that we aren't answering during our presentation, put them in the chat box and we will get that information to you, and we hopefully will be able to answer some questions at the end of this and get that information to everybody who maybe is a little shy to ask a question. So we're going to start off question number one. Phil, take it away.
Yeah, so first off, before we even start off, I do want to say thanks to the city of Long Beach from the county for allowing us to participate today. With so much misinformation out there, we want to take advantage of every opportunity to get the correct information out to our voting public. So first thing I've been hearing a lot, Monique, and maybe you could help me out with this, is folks have been asking, is it safe to vote with the post office, to send our ballot through the mail, despite what we've been hearing about nationwide with USPS issues?
Absolutely. The post office is absolutely safe. People who are going to get their vote by mail ballot starting October 5th can use the post office and return it. The post office is as safe as it's ever been, and I have no problem telling people to use the post office. Vote by mail ballots are postage paid in LA County, so you don't even have to put a stamp on it. Just put it in any mailbox that you see.
That's great. And you know, in addition to that, I know that since April, the registrar's office has been in discussions with USPS headquarters, and we have a soft commitment from them. Their goal is to deliver all election materials, whether it be from the registrar's office to the voter or from the voter back to the registrar's office, in a period of 5 to 7 days.
See, that is great to hear, Phil.
That's awesome. So they're definitely in LA County, they're definitely working with us, and the registrar's office is definitely working with the post office, again, all on behalf of the voters.
So Phil, we've been getting a lot of questions in the office. The Postal Service recently mailed out a postcard that looks like this, and there's some information on there that we've been getting a lot of questions about. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Is it true that, number one, voters have to request a vote by mail ballot in LA County, and number two, that they have to put a stamp on their vote by mail ballot before they mail it?
So those are great questions, Monique, and I could see how this postcard could be misleading to voters in California, right? So voting rules vary from state to state, and when the post office does put something out like this in an effort to try and encourage voters to vote early and such, they have to do it in the most general form possible, right? Because every single state has different rules. However, the two pieces of misinformation, or the two pieces of information you asked about, here in California, for this election, because of the pandemic, every voter registered by October 19th will automatically receive a vote by mail ballot, regardless of their vote by mail status. So for this election, every single voter will receive a vote by mail ballot. You do not have to request it. And as you stated, all vote by mail ballots are postage paid and self-addressed.
So what are my options for returning my vote by mail ballot?
Oh, that's a great question too. So in Los Angeles County, we like to expand upon options. We're not about taking options away. We like to expand upon them or make them more efficient. So for example, one option is to use one of our convenient vote by mail drop boxes, which I see in your background right there. These are easily identifiable across the county. You can find them at most of your city halls, municipalities, and we'll have a list available where these drop box locations are in early October. Now, the drop boxes are all, the ballots are retrieved by RRCC, Registrar Recorder employees. These are not handled by the post office. So these go straight from the box back to our office, and we have a regular pickup schedule as outlined in California Election Code. The other option is to simply drop it in a mailbox or hand it off to your postman, in which case it'll go through USPS and it'll eventually get back to us. And finally, your third option is to go and drop it off at any vote center during the voting period, which starts on October 24th. The one piece of advice I would give to voters who are going to drop off their vote by mail ballot at a vote center is, as you approach, wave your ballot in the air and make sure those vote center election workers know that you're simply dropping off so they don't try and get you in line to vote. Now, one thing I do want to mention, highly important, is the law has changed regarding who can submit your vote by mail ballot on your behalf. In the past, the law stated it had to be someone that was a relative or a member of your household. They have since changed the law and says anybody can surrender or can submit your ballot on your behalf as long as you sign the back and they sign the back. Now that's the law. We're election administrators, so we will administer the election according to that law. But I will caution our public, please only surrender your vote by mail ballot to someone you absolutely know and trust. Yes, the law says you can hand it off to anyone, but please make it someone you absolutely know and trust.
Thank you, Phil, for reminding everybody out there about that. That's been so important, especially with people being very, very concerned about
Absolutely.
safety of their ballot. I'd hate for anybody to hand their ballot over to somebody who maybe knocks on your door. It should only be, like you said, somebody that they know and trust to mail their ballot for them. I also want to remind people in Long Beach that we have 18 vote by mail drop boxes throughout the city of Long Beach. One of them is actually a drive-through drop box. So this is really important to people who maybe have disabilities, who cannot get out of their car, or it's difficult for them to get out of their car, or just for ease of drop off if they just want to drive through and drop it off. And that location is at Cal State Long Beach in parking lot G, which is off of Atherton by the Performing Arts Center. So if you're interested in dropping your vote by mail drop box or ballot at any of the Long Beach drop box locations, on our website, we do have a flyer that lists all the Long Beach locations. And on the back side of the flyer, we have a nice little map that'll show you where they're distributed throughout Long Beach. So if you're in Long Beach and you want to drop it off, it's an easy way to take a look and see which one is closest to you. A reminder, you can drop it off at any drop box in LA County. It doesn't have.
Where can I find that flyer that you described?
You can find the flyer at longbeach.gov/city-clerk, and we have the link to the flyer, and we will be distributing this throughout the city of Long Beach for the next month to try and get as many people in the know as possible.
Oh, very good. Now, Monique, I had mentioned that every registered voter would receive a vote by mail. Is there a deadline for folks to be registered?
There is a deadline for folks to be registered. It's October 19th. However, if you miss that October 19th deadline due to the pandemic or other personal reasons, you can always go to a vote center during the election period and register in person at a vote center. And that starts October 24th.
Awesome.
So everybody's been really concerned about vote centers, and are they going to be open, Phil, during the pandemic?
You know, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Since word has gotten out that every registered voter will be receiving a vote by mail ballot, a lot of people have assumed this is going to be an all vote by mail election, and it's not. LA County will still be offering in-person voting opportunities where we can do so safely, right? The biggest hurdle we have to overcome there is social distancing. So we have located much larger locations to host vote centers, locations where we could adequately host, have a voter, social distance, and then another voting machine and another voting device. So yes, also masks, gloves, PPE equipment will be provided to voters if they do not have it. All of our election workers will be wearing masks and gloves. And as each voter finishes voting, we immediately sterilize and sanitize that machine.
So we're going to have vote centers. That's awesome news. How can I find my vote center? I just got my sample ballot booklet. Unfortunately, in the past, I've always been able to look here and find my closest vote center. How do I find it now, Phil?
So for this year, we will be posting the listing of all vote centers and all vote by mail drop boxes on our website, lavote.net, and that listing will be up in early October. So we're looking sometime this week. In addition to that, every residential household in Los Angeles County will receive a booklet that lists all vote centers in the county. Every vote center in the county will be listed on that booklet. And in addition to that, every registered voter within that household will receive a postcard that lists the 3 nearest locations to that voter.
But I don't have to go to the nearest one to where I live, right, Phil?
No, you absolutely do not. Thanks to the People's Choice Act and the Voting Solutions for All People voting system that LA County rolled out during the primary, you can now go to any vote center across the county and still have access to your home ballot. So if you live in Long Beach and happen to be out in Lancaster for the day, you could pop into a vote center up there and they will be able to bring up your Long Beach ballot. You will not have to vote provisionally. You will not miss out on any local contests.
And if I go to one of these locations that aren't near me, can I still cast my ballot? Even if I don't have my vote by mail in my hand when I walk into that center?
Oh, that's another great question. And yes, you can absolutely still cast a ballot. When you do arrive, if you do not have your vote by mail ballot, you will simply let the election worker know that you do not have it to surrender, and they will remotely spoil that ballot. That way, if somehow that ballot found their way back to our office, when we scan it, it'll come up as a spoiled ballot. Once it's spoiled, that voter will be offered a ballot to vote there at the vote center.
That's really great news. I know a lot of people out there are really concerned if they lost their vote by mail ballot. They're maybe not used to voting by mail. They don't know what to look for in the mail. And if they throw it out in the junk mail, how are they going to vote? So it's really reassuring to know that you don't have to have that vote by mail ballot to go to a vote center and vote anytime during the election voting period, which again starts on October 24th.
Absolutely. So Monique, I have a question for you. How can I be sure my vote by mail ballot gets to Norwalk? How do I make sure that it's getting to the registrar recorder's office? Is there any way I can track my ballot?
So LA County has what's called ballot tracks. And if you look in the comments below, you'll be able to see information on that. And that allows voters to track their ballot. And Phil, what's the county doing after somebody logs into ballot tracks?
So that's a great question. When someone logs into Ballot Tracks, and this is a free service, the state has partnered with a company called Ballot Tracks to offer this to the voters. You will be able to track your ballot much in the same way that you track an Amazon package that you order or from some other company, not preferential there. You'll get a total, I believe it's 4 or 5 alerts via email and or text, depending on how you signed up. And those alerts will be similar to, like I said, when you're tracking a package and stating, hey, your ballot has been received by USPS headquarters. Your ballot is en route to the registrar recorder's headquarters, those types of alerts. Now, once it's arrived here, that'll be the last alert you get. However, if you go to lavote.net, we do have a link there that you can click and you can see that your ballot has been received and tallied.
That's good news. Again, really reassuring to know that if this is my first time using vote by mail, that there is a way to make sure that I can see the process, I can see where it is, and that to know that it's made it to LA County and to Norwalk, and that you guys have it and it will be counted. Thank you, Phil.
So Monique, since we're on the topic of voting by mail, a lot of people ask, what's the difference between a vote by mail ballot and absentee ballot?
I don't think there's a difference between vote by mail and absentee. Potato, potato. But Phil, you tell me, what does the county think about those two terms?
Well, you are correct. We use those terms interchangeably, absentee and vote by mail. Typically, we'll refer to absentee for someone who's requesting that ballot for just a single election. And vote by mail, we refer to those as folks who have signed up to receive a vote by mail ballot for every election. However, as stated, both terms are used interchangeably.
Can I request a vote by mail ballot in a language other than English?
Yes, absolutely. Los Angeles County is the most diverse voting jurisdiction in the nation, and we do offer ballots and election materials in a number of other languages. If you go to lavote.net, we have more information on that.
I think you can look below and also see some information. If anybody wants to request a ballot in another language, there's some information on how to get that done.
Yeah, if someone wants to call in and request that information via phone, they can call the county's hotline number at 1-800-815-2666, 1-800-815-2666. And from there, they would choose option 3.
That's good to know. So what happens, Phil, if the signature on my vote by mail doesn't match the signature that's on file for whatever reason? What does a county do?
So if we receive a vote by mail ballot that is either unsigned or we determine that the signature does not match, that voter is immediately notified via letter. We send them a letter where they can then provide their signature on the letter, send it back to us. And if the signature matches at that point, then we will tally that ballot. Now, in the past, voters had 8 days to correct that issue, right? However, due to the pandemic, the state has worked with us to extend some of these deadlines. So a voter now has 28 days to return that form to us. Basically, they have right up until the day or day before that day before we certify the election.
So would it be a good idea for me to check my registration or maybe update if I think that a current signature isn't on file for me?
That's a great thing to do, and I recommend that to folks all the time, especially folks that have had the registration on file for several years, and over the years their signature naturally changes or transforms. Not to mention, I know many folks have two signatures, right? You have your workplace signature that looks something akin to what a doctor might write, and you have your signature you use on your checks and all your legal documents. It's always a good idea to maybe, every 10 years or so, if your signature has changed or whenever your signature changes, please simply re-register and make sure we get that new signature on file.
So Phil, do you have any other frequently asked questions that the county receives out there that you think our voters need to hear?
Well, I think most of the information we covered today is the most pertinent information. The message I do want to send out to the voters, and many people do ask us, what is the safest way to vote? And we've been working with USPS. I feel that's fully safe. Personally, I want to be using one of these drop boxes. I'm going to drop my vote by mail box off at one of these drop boxes because I know county employees pick them up directly. And I want to make sure they have plenty of work to do. Keep them busy during this election cycle. But again, all options within LA County are safe options. The thing we want to encourage folks is please vote early. We do have an 11-day voting period. And if you want to avoid any instance of a line or anything like that, yes, please vote early. All vote centers will be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. from October 24th through November 2nd. And on November 3rd, the vote centers will be up our traditional election day hours from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but LA County will be doing sweeps of post offices for an extended period of time due to the pandemic, where in the past, LA County only did sweeps for 3 days after the election. It'll be extended now to 17 days. Is that correct, Phil?
That is correct. That's what we used to call the E+3 law, meaning, hey, we could take a vote by mail ballot up to 3 days past election day, as long as it is postmarked on election day, in this case, November 3rd. So again, the state stepping in on behalf of the voters to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to get their ballot received and tallied, has extended that deadline. So we now have the E+17 deadline, meaning we can receive a ballot up to 17 days past election day if it is postmarked on election day. And this is great because, as stated earlier, if the post office is working to minimize delays and they have a goal of us getting our materials, or the voters, back and forth within 5 to 7 days, even if it took them the full 7 days, we'd still have a 10-day buffer there, thanks to the state stepping in.
That's excellent news. So we're getting
LA County and the state really are working hard on behalf of the voters to ensure we alleviate or allay any fears they may have over USPS or any other misinformation that's out there.
That's really great news because this all vote by mail election is very new for California, and it's nice to know that Dean Logan and the LA County Registrar Recorder's Office is doing everything they can to make sure that everybody's vote counts.
And I would like to point out, I would like to give a thank you to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors for being proactive. They actually approached us back in April before we even started discussions with state level. So the Board of Supervisors came to us and said, hey, we need to make sure our voters have safe voting opportunities. And that's what really kicked this off. That's what put us so far ahead of the curve.
Excellent. So we are getting some questions from our viewers out there. And one of the questions that we're getting is LA County short on poll workers?
So every election, we need poll workers. Every election, we're calling them election workers. But yes, we can absolutely use election workers. And keep in mind, the election process takes workers behind the scenes, not just at the vote centers. So currently, we are hiring a number of election assistant ones. But if folks want to apply, we do have a poll worker application up at lavote.net. And when they get to the portion, how did you hear about us? They should absolutely put Long Beach City, Facebook Live, voting in a pandemic presentation.
That is great news. And we might even have some information in our chat box for everybody, or hopefully the link directly to that application. And I encourage everybody out there, if you want to get engaged in the process, you want to be part of the solution for this election, become an election worker. It can be an incredibly rewarding and really enlightening experience when you know what it takes to put on an election and to be part of that election.
And there's a lot of people that want to participate, but maybe due to a citizenship status, they're not eligible to vote. I do want to let people know that someone that's a legal permanent residence, they can actually serve as a poll worker. So while they may not be eligible to vote, they can still do their civic duty and serve as a poll worker.
So speaking of getting engaged, we got another question here. How can someone visit the ballot processing center at the Fairplex?
Oh, that's a great question. So this year we will be processing all vote by mail ballots at the Fairplex, building number 9, I believe. If you are interested in going out there, I will have team members there to escort you around, explain the processes to you, and allow you to sit and view as long as you want. If you are interested in doing that, I'd love to get an email from you first, just so we can kind of coordinate and make sure we have everything in place for you. And you can send those emails to outreach@rrcc.lacounty.gov. And I'm sure someone will put that in the chat for us. It's outreach@rrcc.lacounty.gov. But please, yeah, and that's for the vote by mail processing, and that will begin immediately. That will begin October 6th. Again, that's another accommodation made by the state due to the number of vote by mail ballots. We have 5.5 million registered voters in Los Angeles County, meaning there will be 5.5 million vote by mail ballots going out. In the past, we had to wait till 8 days before election day before we could start processing those. Now, again, we're not tallying, we're just processing. For this election, the state said we could start processing as soon as we receive the ballots. So if folks want to get out to Pomona on October 6th, technically ballots are going out October 5th. There could be ballots coming in on the 6th. I will have staff members there ready to escort you around and explain the processes.
Excellent. And so one more question we're getting is, are DMV signatures referenced or only what's on file with the Registrar Recorder's Office?
Great question. And this leads me to another myth busting opportunity. There are many folks who say, I don't want to register to vote. I don't want to get jury duty. Well, actually the jury pool, they use the same database we use, and that's a DMV's database. So if you do have a California driver's license or a California state issued ID, you're already in that pool. Now, do we reference those signatures? And the answer is yes. Now, the first time someone votes, we do bring up their DMV record and verify that signature. We also scan their signature. Every subsequent time, we're simply looking at the signature prior. So if you've registered 5 times over the years, I will have 5 different signatures, or possibly 5 same signatures, but I will have every instance that you registered in there that I can compare it to. And keep in mind, when signatures don't match, we don't just take one person's word. LA County always requires a check, and double check on items like this. So we will have 3 people check for a signature match.
And if it doesn't match, again, the county will reach out to that individual and say, hey, it didn't match. You can remedy that. And this is correct.
Absolutely. Yes, and we will send a letter out to anyone. As stated, if it doesn't match on your vote by mail ballot, you will receive a letter. If it doesn't match on a registration form, then we'll reach out to the person, either ask them to re-register or something similar with a letter.
And I got one more question here. So an individual said she re-registered this summer to an address and she had a signature issue. Her signature is from 13 years ago, and it's definitely different now. She wanted to be proactive to prevent any problems. So again, the recommendation would be re-register to update her signature on file, correct?
Yeah. So if she hasn't registered in, I think she said 13 years, then definitely, absolutely re-register. Please do so early in advance of the October 19th deadline. Excuse me. However, if she has already registered and she just wants to verify that, hey, I think she said to address, it was to address signature issues. I thought it was to address an address issue. My bad. If anyone did want to check their address or current status, we also have a check my registration box there on our website at lavote.net.
And that's good information for anybody who maybe moved recently and is not sure if their registration got updated, if they got married, if they, for whatever, have their status has changed in any way, and if they've changed political parties and they want to make sure that that information is current as well, correct?
Absolutely. Those are all valid reasons. Your voter registration is essentially permanent unless you make changes to any of those areas you just discussed, your address, your name, or your political party.
That's good to know. So I think that's all the questions that we're getting from our viewers out there for right now. Is there anything else you want to add, Phil, before we wrap up our Q&A. Any of the myth busters you want to share?
Just that I'm encouraging folks to vote early. Please vote early. Let's get out there and let's get these votes in and tallied by the end of the month, which we absolutely will do. Again, if you're interested in observing any of the post-election processes, please email me and we'll take care of you. It's a chance, I often say to folks, as the largest in the nation, with all the misinformation and all the stories you hear about election offices coming across the county, it's actually a chance for me to show off our department a bit. So when folks come down, they typically are impressed, not just with the process, but with the scope of the process. Again, being the largest in the nation, processing millions of ballots. I've often had people come in and observe and they say, Phil, the room where you guys are processing vote by mail is larger than the room most counties process the entire election. So it's definitely a sight to see. And I would encourage you to come down. We're very proud of the fact that we have a history of running clean, transparent elections. You know, in LA County, we believe healthy elections, healthy communities.
And I completely agree, Phil. I've been down there. I've seen the process. It is something amazing to watch. And anybody who has not been involved in a big election, it is really impressive what you guys managed to accomplish. Kudos to
Thank you. Thank you.
So we got one question in under the wire here, and that was about contact information. If somebody's experiencing any issues at the polls during the voting period, who do they contact to let somebody know that they felt like this wasn't the most open, accommodating environment for them to vote?
Sure. So folks have a couple options. We do have a hotline number that's listed on our website, and they can call that. The other option, I'm going to put you guys on the spot a little bit, is that the folks often reach out to their city clerks, right? Their city clerks often their first line. And I would encourage that because, Monique, you have my direct line. And so any voters that contact you, you or your team are able to contact us immediately. And that is typically the quickest route to resolution if there is an issue at the vote centers.
I completely agree. And I want to encourage any voters in Long Beach, if you have an issue on election day, the city clerk's office in Long Beach will be open. We will be here. You can call us 562-570-6101. We will be answering our phones. And a lot of times, you're right, Phil, in Long Beach, it is faster for this office to go out and to a vote center to make sure that there are no issues, or to assist the vote centers when they maybe are having some issues with getting people in line, asking people to be the appropriate number of feet away to avoid electioneering, those kinds of issues. This staff, my office, has always been very reactive and try to be proactive to get out there. But since we are located in Long Beach, a lot of times it is faster for us to get out there and kind of see what's happening and get the information to the county in a timely manner if we feel like it's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yes, this is one area where the counties and cities truly partner in a great way.
Great. So I think that's it. I don't see any other questions out there. And I really want to encourage everybody to vote on November 3rd. Check your
earlier.
Yeah, check your voter registration status. Go early. Make sure you have a plan when you go to vote. And that's a lot of people have asked that question. Have a plan. Know where you're going. Know what you're going to do. If you're going to vote by mail, know where you're going to drop it off. Is it going to be at a vote box? Is it going to be through mail? If you're disabled, who's going to help you get that into a vote drop box or the mail stream? And if you're going to go vote at a vote center, there are a lot of people out there who still want to go to the vote centers, and that is absolutely acceptable. Make sure you have a plan. What vote center are you going to go to? How are you going to get there? Take your vote by mail if you have it. If you don't, that's okay. Exactly. Remember, all the vote centers, if you're going to vote in person, have a mask. If you have a cute mask, wear that one for the day. If you have a vote mask, wear your vote mask. Remember not to wear any political party affiliated masks or t-shirts or anything else, because we will ask you to turn them inside out or to take them off. We'll be giving face masks at vote centers that are just the blue health face masks. So everybody have a plan, know what you're going to do for this election, and contact the county or the city clerk's office if you have any questions about elections, or if you just have questions about the process. We are here to answer any of those burning questions that you might have so we could put your mind at ease about November 3rd.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeff, I want to say thank you so much. Or I'm sorry, Phil. Phil, thank you so much
Thank you.
for taking the time out of your day to come and talk with us and answer some of these questions, and let the residents of Long Beach and anybody else out there who's listening know what's going to be happening on November 3rd.
Thank you, Monique. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.